Hello, welcome back to the channel. My name is Sarah and today we're gonna do like a little reset type of video. I'm gonna talk about the stuff that I am currently reading, the things that I have recently gotten in the mail. I'm gonna do a little haul, and we're gonna talk about the stuff that I have read recently that I haven't talked about anywhere else, and some of the projects that I am working on. We'll start with the currently reading. I am working on A Witch's Guide to Fake Dating a Demon by Sarah Hawley. This is my little like urban romance pick for right now. I'm doing Becca's Bookopoly-a-thon for October Spookopoly-a-thon. I can never say it right, so I'm just gonna call it the October Bookopoly. And this was one of my book rolls, so I'm working on that. It's pretty fun so far. I actually didn't expect it to be dual perspective, and I was kind of dreading it, but it is, and it's very funny. It's a little long almost feeling already, so we'll see how that goes, but I just need to sit down and spend some time with it. And I am also 70% through the arc of Anything with Nothing, which is the new Valdemar short story collection, which is edited by Mercedes Lackey, and I love this. I've already pre-ordered my copy. This is great. Just for a minute, I want to gush. I grew up reading Valdemar books. They're not perfect. They're not like the best things ever, but for me as a kid, they were my safe space. Valdemar was a place where bad things happened to good people, but in the end, there was always hope. There was always a light at the end of the tunnel. There was always goodness in others, you know, no matter what bad things happened. And by God, did Mercedes Lackey put her characters through it. Some of those books I am still upset about. The arrows, oh my god. Anyway, no matter what happened, no matter how bad things were, no matter how dark it got, there was always light, and that for me was the epitome of fantasy. I wanted darkness but with light at the end of the tunnel, and this is reminding me of that and how much I loved that. It works. It's perfect for me. And I don't know if it's simply just this collection or the authors that they chose, but these stories are really featuring that. These stories really hit the nail on the head for me with that. There was one story I just read last night that kept me up. It hit so hard about a young mother or a new mother rather, being separated from the child she's caring for, and it was a lot. But at the end there was hope, and it was happy, and she gets back to where she needs to be, and I was crying. Went to sleep crying about it. It really hit me. That one really hit. That one was really impactful for me. And so just Valdemar, man. I was a teenager and it messed me up. I'm a grown-ass person and it's messing me up. I love it here. Anyway, that is mainly what I'm reading right now. I have also started the first book in the Echo Saga by Philip Quintrell, I think is his last name. The Rise of the Ranger, I think is what it's called. I'll put the picture up here. I'm finally getting into that series. It's finished. He's started a new series, I think, and I want to read this. It's been on my TBR for years at this point. It's quite big, but it's supposed to be amazing. So I am working on that right now. Usually I'll pick that up. I'll read a few pages when I'm waiting on something at an appointment or something like that. I'll probably move it to my Kindle and prioritize it after I finish the Valdemar book. The things that I've gotten this week, we'll talk about this stuff real quick and then I'll do my kind of catch up to everything else. I got a new book sleeve from Happy Go Lucky Sleeves. It's for a readathon, middle grade readathon that's going on right now, but I'm not taking part. I just love the sleeve so much because it's got a little witchy frog. And if you know me, I love weird little creatures like frogs and bats and things like that. So I got that. And as far as books go, I got Spy Family Volume 10, which I have read. So that's just going to go on the shelf here with the rest of them. I got the model cover of Madam by Sarah Kate, which I think is the last book in the Salacious Players Club, and I am excited about it. It's a polyam book. And I got Two Twisted Crowns, which is the sequel to One Dark Window, which I loved last year. I think, in fact, it's over here. Yes, right here. So now I have both of them, and I am sincerely hoping I have tabbed One Dark Window all to hell. Two Twisted Crowns will be a close follow-up to that. Now, let me put this up. I am going to do a sort of wrap-up catch-up of things I haven't covered in other videos, but that I have read recently. This is going to include arcs and maybe a few miscellaneous things. Some of these I'm only going to briefly touch on because I am working on 2 different vlog projects. One of them is my Bookopoly-thon, like month-long vlog where I do my rolls and my thoughts on each book I get. And then I'm also doing a vlog on a couple of SPFBO finalists. One of those that I've already finished and I loved was The Daughter of the Beast by E.C. Greaves. I have already hauled this and its 2 sequels in a recent book haul, which should go up. It's not up before this video, it will go up next week. I have to edit it, it's kind of long. But I adored this. This is an indie fantasy about a young girl who is kidnapped, taken after a raid on her home village by the Volcari, who are gnolls. They're warrior women gnolls, and she is raised in their society, and there is this prophecy involved. I'll say that. It was fantastic. The pacing on this was really great. It was a very steady build up. You were always in it. You were always ready for what was coming. There was no slog for me. I really liked it. And the voice of the main character was fantastic because we're in her head. We understand what she understands, and she doesn't understand things. We as a reader understands it, but we see her genuinely not understand things, and it's kind of funny. She won't understand a turn of phrase. We'll get what's going on, but she doesn't. And it's just genuine in the voice, and I loved it a lot. Again, I don't want to go on about it too much because I'm pretty sure I went on a little bit of a rant in my vlog, which hopefully I'll trim down, but great first book in a series. I will be reading the next ones in this for sure. I also read, there's one other book for that vlog, but I accidentally read another SPFBO finalist, and that is The Fall Is All There Is by C.M. Kaplan. This was amazing. I talked about this one in my Bookopoly vlog, but this is the story of Peter and his 3 siblings. He is one of a, oh no, I lost it. Quintuplet? Quadruplets. He's one of a quadruplet. He is, I think, the youngest. His oldest sister is getting ready to take the throne, and his oldest brother, so the second oldest in the set, has come to get him, he thinks, to go to the throne and swear allegiance to his sister because he's kind of been out of politics for a few years for reasons, which you find out. And it gets messy. It's so messy. And again, the voice on this was just amazing. You're in his head. He is autistic. It's mentioned a few times, and it really colors how he sees the world and interacts with people. And it's done in a way that I felt was done well. For me, it felt authentic. I would like to read more reviews from autistic folks just to be sure. I don't know if the author is or not. He may be, but it felt genuine and it felt good. And it really kept the story unique, and the voice was strong. And I also really, really loved the messiness of the siblings. They still loved each other, but by God, they didn't get on sometimes, but they still loved each other. It wasn't just immediately, you don't agree with me, I hate you. It was, we don't agree, but we still love each other. And it was fantastic. I am going to pick up the next books in this one as well as soon as they're available. This is the 4 of Mercies. This will be a series I continue without a doubt. I can't get over how good those 2 were. I then followed up another indie within an indie, and that was Nightmare Arcanist by Shami Stovall, and I am again going to finish this series. This is a Pokemon meets magical school with Saturday morning cartoon vibes. It's a YA book. It's good. It's good. Volk, our main character, wants to be an Arcanist. That's someone who bonds with a magical creature, and it goes out and, you know, serves his country, his peoples, all that stuff. Except Volk is a gravekeeper. His parents were not nice folk, and so he's not considered worthy to be an Arcanist. So he's not given the opportunity to bond with his island's trademark creatures, which are phoenixes. Instead, he and his foster adoptive sister end up bonding with some unusual creatures and going off to become Arcanists, and they get to apprentice with some intriguing people, and there is a whole plot afoot. They get wrapped up in it. The variety of characters and the diversity of magic, the ideas she had were so clever. I loved the way she did this. We didn't just have, oh, this one's fire and this one's water and this one's air. They had very cool abilities, especially Volk and his magical creature. I cannot wait to see where this goes. My only gripe, maybe, is that I bought this edition in hardback. I'll be buying the rest in paperback because this binding was really tight. But like 2 weeks after I bought this in hardback, she released a new cover, and it's so badass. I'm gonna put it right here. I want it in this cover. So we'll see. I think the second book, Dread Pirate Arcanist, might be coming to me in paperback in the new cover, which I will put here as well, which is very cool. I love the new covers. I'm sure you'll see it moving forward, but this was another fantastic indie that I loved. And for an arc that I did finally read that I have in physical form, I finished Kiss and Spell by Celestine Martin. This is the sequel to Witchful Thinking, which I believe the series is now called Elemental Love. I saw online, I think it's called Elemental Love. This one is the story of Ursula and Xavier, and Ursula in the first book drove me up the wall and back down again. She was the sibling cousin. She was the cousin that was getting married, and she was a real bridezilla about it. Like, oh my god, she said some really mean things to the main character of Witchful Thinking, and like, you ended that book disliking her strongly. And I don't normally go in for like redemption stories for these type of characters, but she did a great job. By the end of this, I was like, yeah, okay, Ursula's cool. I like Ursula. I like her attitude. I like the way that she knows she's doing better. She's striving to be better. She sees what she did wrong, and she is, working to overcome that. And Xavier is a cinnamon roll of a character. He is so sweet and kind. He is a Fey prince with an enchantment on him, and they are trying to work together to break the enchantment and, of course, falling in love. This is witchy and very moody. My main complaint on this one is only that it is very maybe overwritten. The purple prose, while very beautiful, was very purple. Like the cover, this writing was, oh, I kicked you, I'm so sorry. This writing was very like, okay, moonlight, stardust, pine, smells, everything. Oh my gosh, all the words to say someone smells good. It's just, it was a bit much. It's a bit much. So that was the biggest complaint for me, was occasionally they would start talking about each other or what was happening or the environment, and I would just glaze for about 3 or 4 lines and then come back. That was it. That was the biggest complaint. Otherwise, I really enjoyed it. It was fun. It was sweet. Like I said, Xavier was a cinnamon roll, so it was really good, and I liked seeing Ursula grow as a character. For a few books that I wasn't as wild about. Okay. So I'm trying to go back to the last things. Oh my gosh. So there's a few arcs that I've read recently that I didn't like. Let me get the ones that I was okay about out of the way first. So the first one would be The Pomegranate Gate. Ariel Kaplan, I believe, is the author on this. And this was okay. It was a fantasy romance with a Jewish, I think Spanish history inspired flavor about a young girl who gets trapped in this weird dreamland alternate plane with fae opposite her own in a time when her village is being sent away. There is a crusades are coming down into her area, and they're forcing all the Jews to convert over to Christianity. And if you don't want to convert, you have to leave, or you have to give up your worldly possessions, classic history stuff. And along the way, she gets pulled into another realm. It also follows her grandmother and a young man and an old lady who are working to find her and get to safety. I liked this. My biggest complaints on this one, which I gave this one about a 3, so it was fine, but it wasn't great, was that the pace was slow. It was really slow. There was a lot of telling us things and not really showing us a lot of things, and the last part, the payoff, just, it didn't work for me. I was like, I put all this time in, and the twist I saw coming, I knew who was here and who was there. This one was fine for me. It was a 3-star. If you like fantasy romance, I would recommend it. I would probably pick up the next book, maybe from the library in this series, just to see where it goes. So not bad, but it's not something I'm gonna buy to own. I read The Navigating Fox by Christopher Rowe, and this was a 5-star because I really loved it. This is the type of weird fantasy that I adore. This is about the Navigating Fox, and he has been tasked to guide this expedition to the gate of hell so that this holy man can close it. Along the way, we also find out the story of the expedition he led before this one that ended in tragedy, and how that ties to his current expedition. This is set in a world in which animals, a lot of animals, are intelligent. They live alongside humans. No one is quite clear on how that came to be, but they are considered citizens. They have rights and all this stuff, and the world is built on councils and groups of them and humans working together. I want a full-length novel powerful in this world, I would eat it up. I would eat it up in a heartbeat, but it's not going to be for everybody because it is weird fantasy where not everything is explained and it's told in a very unique way. I think this is the second Christopher Rowe that I have read recently, and I really liked both of them. So I am going to be continuing with his work for sure, and I really hope we see more in this world. It's a Tor.com novella, so it's really short. I can't say a whole lot about it, but I highly recommend it. If you like weird fantasy where not everything is explained and you really like talking animals, this is the one for you. I read Beholder by Ryan LaSala, which was another fine one. This was very YA horror for me. I think the problem that this one had was that it felt kind of like every other YA horror that I've ever read, or every YA that I've read. And I was reading this at the same time that I was reading The Fall Is All There Is, where we had such a strong and unique voice. The voice in this one just felt so flat and uninteresting, which sounds terrible. But this is the story of a young man who survives, I can't even remember his name at this point. He survives a massacre at a party, and he can see things in mirrors. His lineage, he's like cursed or blessed, however he wants to look at it. If he looks in the mirror, he can see things, and he starts to see something coming after him. The cover kind of gives away what it is, and he is helped by another man to kind of solve what's going on, and they get caught up trying to stop this guy who is wanting to usher in this like dark deity god that's coming through the mirrors. You know, it's fine. It had a few spooky moments. Nothing really scared me for one big reason. Two of the scare factors in this was spiders on the cover and this like sort of existential dread. I love spiders. They don't scare me. You're not gonna scare me with a spider spook unless it's like really, really like jumping at you out of nowhere. It's got to be very well done for me to be creeped out by a spider. And existential dread doesn't work for me either. I know I said that weird. Whatever. It doesn't work for me either. I'm pretty mellow and chill on most days. Certain days, you know, everybody has their days, but for most days I'm pretty chill about that sort of thing, so it doesn't bother me. It was a miss for me as far as spookiness, and it felt very bland in its delivery. It was fine. It wasn't bad. I'm not gonna own it. But if you like Ryan LaSala, maybe try it. I haven't read his other books. The Honeys was the first one. I haven't read that one. I may still give that one a try, and we'll see how it goes. Oh, what was next? Oh, Bitter Medicine by Mia Sai. This came out earlier this year. I'm just real behind on a lot of books. This was a fantasy romance, more romance than anything, about Ellie and Luke. I actually remember these characters' names. And they work for a company, think Men in Black, but instead of aliens, you have paranormal urban fantasy aspects. You have fairies and gnolls and trolls and all kinds of folklore animals. There's a sphinx, and she's very cool. Things like that. And Ellie is descendant from a Chinese family who are descendant of a medicine god, so they're very powerful in healing and medicine and other things. Her particular brand of magic is with calligraphy. And Luke is a French guy who is working for the company. He is half fae, and his true name is being used against him. You find that out very quickly. And so they are having this romance that pretty much takes over the story. But the subplot of this is that one of Ellie's brothers is trying to kill her and their oldest brother because he wants to inherit the power of the medicine god. Even though they each are already very powerful, there's always one heir to that god's power. So he's looking for them, and she's protecting him. That ties into Luke and his group's work, and Luke is also attempting to solve a mystery of what happened, or not a mystery, but trying to find a cure for two children that are in his care. All this kind of weaves together. We lose some of the secondary plot with Luke and his motivations, I feel like, in the second half, and the romance really takes over the story. But some of the things I really liked was the multicultural aspect of this. It was really well done, and I also loved the language in this. The author speaks multiple languages and grew up in a community where multiple languages were spoken. She talks about it in her afterword. I really loved that, and she used that in the story. So there would be sections in Chinese, short ones, but she wouldn't translate them. It was just there, and if you knew it, you knew it. If you didn't, context clues perhaps. Same with French. There were a few places where there was French lines and context clues. It was there. I appreciate that. I do. I don't speak Chinese or read it or French. I can pick a few words out of French, but that's it. But I appreciate that those other languages were used in that way because that's real world. I like those aspects. Again, not one that I'm going to buy, but one I enjoyed, and you might enjoy too. Okay, I think that's everything. That's not a manga, besides the 1 stars. So, let's get those out of the way. Let's start with the one that I'm less angry about. This one was more of a 2-star. This is The Corset and the Jellyfish by Nick Batok, and I just don't know why this exists. I just don't know why it exists. It is called A Conundrum of Drabbles, and man, I am conundrum did words. This one just was weird. It was at first I was really into it, but then I was like, what's the point? These stories do not interconnect. They are a page or less, and they're just wildly off the wall, and the little illustrations that go with it are like, okay, I'm thinking like 90s, you know, those lizards everybody had on everything, like ugly 90s doodles. It's just, why does it exist? There is a narrative like structure around this that's like, oh, if you take a word out of each story, maybe you can solve the mystery of where these stories came from. No, man. That would have worked if these stories were like 3 lines, but no, this I didn't like it. It didn't offend me. I just don't understand why it exists in the world. Was it one of those books that gets published because everybody knows the author? I don't know the author. So no, I don't get it. It went over me. It went over my head. Not for me. The second to last one that made me angry was The Witch and the Vampire by Francesca Flores. This one didn't make me angry. I just also didn't like it. I gave it 1 star. The main characters of this were frustrating in a way that I cannot express. Oh my god. This is about a witch and a vampire. The vampire was turned 2 years ago as a young girl. Her mother has kept her in their house. She is the Rapunzel of this Rapunzel retelling, and has made her grow her hair out for no apparent reason except to make it Rapunzel. And she is siphoning her daughter's power because her daughter still has witch powers because she was turned young into a vampire. Our other main character is a young woman who is a witch and a vampire hunter, and she is convinced that this other young lady, who used to be her best friend, was the mastermind of her mother's murder based off a blurry sight of the girl she saw in the window one night shortly after her mother was murdered. That's it. Her mother died. She was walking down the street. She saw her friend at the time, they were still friends at the time, standing in a window with red on her face, and she thought, she's a vampire. She killed my mom. Oh my god, I hate her. That's it. There's absolutely no other way. She didn't know she was a vampire, for one. She only knew that her mom had died from a vampire attack. She just hadn't seen her friend in a while. So she just jumped to that conclusion, and that was her entire personality. And then later, when she is convinced, very easily by the way, that her friend did not kill her mom, she is immediately certain she knows who killed her mom after that. And you know what? She may have been right. She may not have been right. But the fact that this character had no critical thinking skills and no personality outside of that drove me up the wall. And then our Rapunzel vampire girl was just the saccharine sweet good girl in a bad situation. I just didn't like it. And there's this whole like conversation that could have been had about how the fact that the witches and the vampires hate each other and they're trying to wipe each other out, and there's all this racism and stuff, and none of it's addressed, and it's all just set pieces, and it just felt so shallow, and I just didn't care. So that was a 1 star. And the final book that is probably going to be a hot take this season, let me straighten my seat, The Hurricane Wars by Thea. I don't remember the last name, but it's on the screen. I despise it. I'm sure she's a nice lady. Didn't like her book. Don't like the book. Don't want to see it. Its cover makes me mad, and here's why. This is Star Wars fanfiction. This is Reylo fanfic that has been published and it's not been edited well enough to hide the fact that it's Reylo fanfic. This is about a young woman who wields light magic in a world where the shadow magic is overtaking everything. And Adam Driver, our main character, because there is no other person that this could be with the description given, is the heir to the Shadow Empire, and he soon becomes the emperor of the Shadow Empire, and then they end up in this forced marriage arrangement. And you know what? I feel bamboozled. That's all it is. I feel bamboozled. I've had this arc since it was up earlier this year, and I didn't know that it was fan fiction because I'm not in fan fiction spaces. I'm just not a fan of fan fiction, and I didn't know that this was based off fan fiction until like I started reading, and I had heard the rumors. And I was like, it's fine. Sometimes fan fiction that has been edited really well and has been rewritten enough so that it does not contain the original flavors, it can work. This one was not that. This one was not that in any way that that I could find. And I read the book and I despised it. So 1 star. I'm mad that it exists. I'm not mad that it exists. I am being hyperbolic, but I'm mad that it exists. And I am so glad that I canceled my fairy loot before this book came, because if I had gotten this in the mail, I would have been so upset about it. So that's it. I am sorry if you liked some of those. I'm really genuinely happy for you, but for me, that's going to be a hard pass, a hard no, and I don't want to talk about them anymore. I don't want to acknowledge their existence. And that's it. That's it for me. This was really long. So the reason I did this video, to sum all this up, was I'm going to be changing my video formats. I will no longer be doing Should You Reads. Instead, I'm going to be doing a weekly vlog, weekly wrap-up again. I really liked that format before. It was easier for me. And I'll be doing longer vlog projects scattered throughout. This is 1, so I can streamline and catch up on everything that I am behind on, and 2, so that I can just feel less overwhelmed with my life. Because boy, how things have changed. Our schedules have moved around, as I have mentioned previously in a lot of videos, and I'm just still working on acclimating to that. I'm also sick of Should You Reads. So the last one went up this morning, which is, today is Friday. This will probably go up this weekend. Last one went up Friday morning. There won't be another one. You will instead see my arcs and everything in my wrap-ups. That is it. I am done. I will let you all go. It's been 30 minutes on the clock for this filming, and I'm hoping I can edit this down. Thanks for watching, y'all. I hope you guys have a fantastic weekend and next week, and I will talk to y'all in the comments. Like, comment, subscribe. Tell me how you liked the things that I hated. I don't care. I'm happy for you. And I'll see you soon. Bye.